My name is Arno Michaelis. I'm an author, a speaker, an educator, and a student, and I'm a former white power skinhead. I grew up in an alcoholic household. There was a lot of emotional violence in my house. It made me suffer as a kid. I started lashing out at other kids. As I grew older, I got kind of a taste for it. As a teenager, I was very violent. I was very angry. And I was introduced to the white supremacist ideology through white power skinhead music, which really resounded with me as an angry kid, and all of a sudden I can identify as a white man who's fighting for his people. And I found that as I radiated hate and violence into the world reflected it back to me in no uncertain terms. But as time went on and friends went to prison and friends were killed in street fights, and most importantly, as I was very fortunate that people I was trying to hate treated me with kindness when I least deserved it, I became exhausted with that mindset and that way of life. So that 7 years later, I was looking for an excuse to leave, and that came in kind of a two-stage form. I became a single parent in 1994 to my 18-month-old daughter, and a couple months later, a second friend of mine was murdered in a street fight. And that was the time I chose to walk away from hate groups. Barely. I narrowly got through it. I tried to kill myself twice actively by slitting my wrists during that 7-year period. And it could certainly be argued that my drinking and fighting in the streets was an ongoing suicide attempt. I got through it because of the kindness of strangers who refused to be subject to the hostility that I was radiating and instead chose to demonstrate for me how human beings should treat each other. That built up on me and brought me to the point where I couldn't deny the wrongness of what I was doing any longer. And that and other things fallen into place. My parents, for all the struggles they had as I was growing up, never gave up on me. They always let me know that I was their son, they loved me very much, and that they were always going to be there for me. I was a leader of this group. I was in a band. I had all kinds of people who either feared me or respected me somehow, and I was going from that to just be like a regular Joe, and that was intimidating. But with the support of my family and a couple key friends and the example set by these people who had treated me with kindness, I was able to leave it behind. I think one of the most important things I've learned through this process is that hurt people hurt people. I truly believe that when any human being commits violence against another human, or anytime we're cruel to each other, or there's meanness, whether it's verbal or physical or however, it's happening because of suffering. It's not happening because certain people are a monster and that's all they can do. We're all human beings, and we were all children at one point, and we all had the same capacity to harm or to heal. And if we can be mindful that violence comes from suffering, we can respond with compassion rather than with aggression, which typically ends up in more violence and fuels the cycle rather than extinguishes it. For people who are going through a struggle, people who are suffering, I find it really empowering and encouraging to just be mindful of impermanence. Really, one of the few things we can count on in our universe is change. It's really the only constant that we know of. And so if you're going through a struggle, you can be confident that your situation will change. I believe, as neuroscientists and psychologists have proven recently, that the components of human happiness are gratitude, kindness, and forgiveness. And that the more of those things we have in our lives, the happier we're going to be. And because these things are available to all and don't cost anything, it's something that anyone can engage in at any given time, there's really no reason why we all can't be happy as human beings. And I think just not only knowing that and practicing it yourself, but spreading that knowledge is one of the best things we can do to bring about a society where all people are valued and all people are included, and that we understand each other and can work together to create a more enlightened society.